Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel and welcome to the Premier League predictions for match week 14 now. Turning around and doing a prediction video on the Monday evening shows that we are properly back here in the Christmas period. Christmas football means football every second day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday football. We are absolutely blessed over this period of time and absolutely cannot wait for it. It's the time of the year all football fans absolutely adore. We get non-stop football basically every day of the week. Let's look at last week's predictions. Coming into last week on 80 points, we added 11 points, 2 perfect scorelines in there. So very, very happy with that. Takes our total to 91 now after 13 match weeks. If you're new to the channel wondering how the point system works, it's 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result, 0 points for neither. So very, very happy to be in double-digit points for the first time in a very long time and getting us back on track. Again, I said the goal was 250 points for the season, which is a high goal, but I wanted to achieve it. And if we can get a few more like we had last weekend with a few double-digit prediction points, we could be pushing that come season's end. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's get straight now into our predictions for match week 14. We are out to Portman Road for our first game of the midweek clashes. Ipswich host Crystal Palace in what could be a very, very hard and difficult to predict game here. Obviously, Ipswich come off the back of that difficult 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest. But as I said in the podcast, they've been so competitive in recent weeks. After the draw versus Manchester United previous to that, they're a team that's hard to beat. And I think that will help them in this game here versus the Crystal Palace side that isn't that creative and attacking wise themselves. I think for Ipswich, they've got to be in the front foot. They're going to want to have possession. They're going to want to keep the pressure on the Crystal Palace side and pen them in the defensive half there. I'm looking to the leaders of this group. A few injuries have sort of crept up on the side and short turnaround. So I'm looking to Sam Morsey in midfield to be that leader in there, commanding the area and winning that ball back as soon as possible for Ipswich Town. If he can get in control and boss that midfield battle, it will go a long way for Ipswich, dominating the game and obviously in the end getting all 3 points. And then also massive games needed from Sammy Smodics up top there, alongside Amari Hutchinson. The others outside of Delap, who is now being forced to become a bit of a creator because he's being doubled and tripled teams at times and doesn't get much space to get his head up and hit a shot or take a few touches and have a shot because he is their central man. So look to the others around him to be important, being clinical in front of goal, especially against a Palace side that's looked much better defensively across the last few weeks. Looking at that Palace side, they'll be somewhat disappointed for the 1-1 draw versus Newcastle United. Multiple chance in that game to go and win it. In the end, Munoz is the hero late in that game to get and save a point for the side, but only allowing Newcastle one shot on goal is positive. It's become a bit of a trend that Crystal Palace is becoming more of that defensively orientated side that looks to counter-attack you and get you on the break. And Sar's improvement week on week, Ezra getting back to fitness, Mateta being more involved throughout the 90 minutes is a great sign for Crystal Palace fans. Will they travel okay? I'm a bit worried on that regard here. They're not a team that necessarily goes on the road and does very, very well on the road. They're normally a team that dominates at home. And looking in this game here, the defence for me is fine. I'm looking up in higher regions of the pitch. I'm looking at Sar and Ezra to stand up, those creators in behind Mateta, give him a chance, give him an opportunity to have a few shots at goal and impact this game of football. And that only happens if those two in behind the striker are at their best. So those two need to continue their great run of form and continue to perform in this game here if Crystal Palace want to get all 3 points. It'll be a Palace counter-attacking system versus an Ipswich possession system. How it'll work out and going a 1-1 draw in the end. I think both teams will count each other out. Both teams really solid enough defensively. Both really dogged in their defensive actions. And as such, I see giving a bit of a scrap. And as such, it being a 1-1 draw in this one here. Next game is at the King Power Stadium. Ruud van Nistelrooy takes charge of his first game as Leicester take on West Ham United. Two teams that were very disappointing last time out. Leicester come off the back of that 4-1 demolition job done on them by Brentford, where they did score first, but they didn't look likely after that point in time. And I mentioned it in the podcast, and I'll mention it yet again. Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to force us to work a bit harder. Work hard with the ball, work hard without the ball, because right now, they're looking really lethargic with and without the ball, too slow when they got the ball, and too sort of close down players without possession. There's so many mistakes in this side's game right now, and that's just leading to a lot of leaky defensive efforts and conceding a lot of goals in clumps. They haven't kept a clean sheet, in the last 8 games in all competitions, showing sort of the core of Leicester's problem right now. They cannot be solid enough defensively. And defensive organisation and solidity is the backbone of all teams staying up in the Premier League, and they just haven't got that at this current point in time. And then equally important going forward as well, I think you have to put Buonanotte down the middle, Mavididi out in the flank, get rid of Ayew, go Avadi, Mavididi, Buonanotte, and maybe another a more creative forward player, maybe Ndidi in a number 10 with Buonanotte on the flank. It just, they need a bit more excitement in the final third, a bit more willingness and want to go and drive the ball forward and create chances. So right now, they're looking really, really pessimistic and slow and sluggish in possession. And if it wasn't for Mom's individual brilliance this season, goals have been very, very hard to come by for this Leicester City side. Looking at West Ham, they were equally as poor, 5-2 loss to Arsenal. All those 5 goals conceded in the first half. And equally, the same problem for them as well. It's looked really, really slow in the possession, not be able to find those wide players like Bowen and Somerville, who I think, simply put, are the keys for this West Ham side. You need to get them on the ball as much as possible. Bowen leads a big chance creator for this side here. He is, he's a litmus test in many regards. When he's on form, the side plays well. It's a simple correlation, but it's because West Ham want to drive the ball forward. They want to play with width. I think equally important too are the fullbacks. You look at Wan-Bissaka and Emerson. They need to make things happen. They need to drive the team forward. They need to get in the front foot. Both of them scoring fantastic goals against Arsenal. Continue that attacking output and attacking will and want to drive forward, because West Ham, equally as important as Leicester, they need to be driven forward, because right now they're just too scared to take the game on, too scared with what might happen if they don't succeed. I think that's the problem with these two teams here. They're playing inside their shell at this current point in time. With that being said, it's a battle for me of who wants it more in this game here. I think Leicester want it more. The new manager bounce under Ruud van Nistelrooy. He'll encourage work rate, encourage effort and intensity, and they'll get that result in this game here versus an average West Ham side. I'm going with a 2-1 Leicester win in Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game in charge. We move to Merseyside for our next game as Everton host Wolves. Everton obviously continuing to struggle on the back of that 4-0 awful loss to Manchester United last time out in the Premier League. The side has only managed 1 goal in the last 5 Premier League games, and that is the central problem right now for Everton. Goals and creation in the final third is their problem. They don't have commit enough numbers forward. They're wasteful with the odd chance they create. I think for me, it just comes down to more people needing to support the front line. No matter who plays at the top, whether it be Beto or Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they just struggle to get involved in games because they don't get many opportunities to go and show what they've got, moving the ball forward or in the final third. I think Iliman Ndiaye, alongside Dwight McNeil, have been the sparks this season for the side, and they have to be yet again in this game here. We know Wolves are vulnerable defensively. These two need to be at the core of everything that Everton does. You need to commit a few more numbers forward. That means Decore driving to more attacking position. Lindstrom as well, keeping him nice and high and wide, really stretch this Wolves back line, which is showing its vulnerability. Again, dealing with a press as well, which we saw last time out versus Bournemouth. And I think, as I said previously with some other teams, just the willingness to commit numbers forward, throw some numbers forward, caution, throw a caution to the wind and just go at it. The kitchen sink type stuff. Throw numbers forward, try and get at this Wolves side and this Wolves back line that can collapse so easily. And potentially you might be able to get a few goals, get some confidence up, and potentially get a result on the board. Looking at Wolves, another disappointing result from them. 4-2 loss to Bournemouth, which ends a great run of 4 games unbeaten. But this stat for me stands out. 16 goals in the last 7 games, but you've only got 2 wins in those last 7 games. It shows where the side is at. The attacking football, fantastic. Strand last and double last time out. We know what Matheus Cunha can do, and we know how they can light it up in the final third with some of their attacking players. But defensively, it's all at sea. The press on Bournemouth caught them off guard. It led to those 3 penalties from different mistakes from Dawson, Jose Sarr, and the like. And they just got overwhelmed with fullbacks overlapping. Milos Kerkez, that second goal in the game was just too many overlapping players, too much swift move for the Wolves back line. They just couldn't shut it down. So you look to that back line to stand up, and I look to the holding midfielders, João Gomez and Andre, to really protect that back 4. We know how good they are on the ball and working into tight spaces and progressing Wolves forward on the transition, but can they stop opposition transition plays? Can they really be a 6, the 2 in front of that 4 at the back, to keep Everton at bay and to protect this very vulnerable Wolves back line? That will be the key for them. Everton don't want to attack. That might play in the Wolves' favour. They might be able to commit numbers forward consistently and just overwhelm the Everton side. But if I'm Everton, change your whole philosophy just for this game here, because Wolves, they do not do well with pressure. Their back line crumbles, and it could be a chance to get a massive result here for them. Is with Wolves, 5 wins and 1 draw in the last 6 occasions between these two sides. And I'm going to back them in again here. I've gone with the Wolves 3-1 win. Their attacking football just too much for this Everton side. We move to the Etihad for our next game as Manchester City host Nottingham Forest. And who would have thought this would be a blockbuster affair? City struggling even further now. 7 games without a win, 5 goals in the last only 5 games. A 2-0 ugly loss at the hands of Liverpool, but they didn't really look like they ever showed up for that game there. There was a lot of pressure on Pep Guardiola's side right now to turn it around. And I look at this side and I look to the leaders. Ilkay Gundogan, Kyle Walker, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz. You got to stand up. Now is the time. You cannot go 8 games without a win in all competitions. You can't let this slide go any further. You're at home. Make a stand now. Because if the season continues to go in this vein here, you can also kiss Champions League football goodbye. Because right now it's at a fine balance. Because winning becomes habit, but also losing can become a habit as well if you don't get into that mindset. I think changes have to be made. I'm looking towards that front line there. Erling Haaland has not had enough created for him in recent weeks. Kevin De Bruyne at the 10, Doku and Grealish on the flanks. Commit to that. Put Gundogan in midfield alongside potentially maybe Bernardo Silva sitting deeper. Just commit to attacking football. Attack this Nottingham Forest side. Get at them. Control possession and just go at this side at home. Really take your anger out this Nottingham Forest side because they've been really poor in transition. They've given away a lot of the ball in recent weeks and struggled on the ball in possession. So I think you sort of go with it. Forget possession or sort of half spaces and inverting fullbacks. Just attack. Get at this Nottingham Forest side and just make them uncomfortable. Pen them in, which is incredible attacking football, relentless attacking football, because I think for City, you're going to concede goals. It's about trying to find a way to score goals at the other end. 5 goals in 5 games for City is well under what we've seen in recent years. So they have to improve that side of their game. Looking at Forest, they got a much needed win last time out, 1-0 against Ipswich at home. Again, it was far from their best football, but a good sign to see they can break down a side when they've got the ball at their feet. In this game, though, we're going back to the traditional Forest way, which will be counter-attacking systems, sitting in deep and utilising Hudson-Odoi and Elanga on the break, with Ryan Yates and Dominguez protecting that back four and just pinging those long balls over the back. And with the way Walker's playing, with the shakiness of that back line there, I can see them having an avenue to win this game of football. Do I see them winning it, though? No. I'm backing in City. I've said it now for multiple weeks, but they cannot go another game without a win, surely. I'm going with a 2-1 City win. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be a scrap. But in the end, they'll get their way over the line and get back in the winners' column. Our next game is up in Newcastle at St James's Park as Newcastle United host Liverpool in another massive clash towards the top end of the Premier League table. Looking at Newcastle, they come off the back of another disappointing result, 1-1 at Crystal Palace. And as I mentioned, only 1 shot on goal in that game and the 0.04 XG in that one there. Really one of the most pathetic performances we've seen from this Newcastle side since Eddie Howe's taken over. And once again, you look at that side and you feel like there's a lot of pressure on the manager and the side to turn things around. And they desperately will need that at home. They've obviously got a fantastic draw and a win versus the two big boys being City and Arsenal this season. Can they do it yet again to another big boy in Liverpool? That's the question. And with Alexander Isak likely to miss, it's going to fall on the shoulders of Callum Wilson up top alongside Anthony Gordon to be the clinical finishers on the break when they get their rare opportunities against a very, very well put together, well constructed Liverpool defensive unit. So, it's going to be tough for them up top. They're going to have limited chances. But Callum Wilson, we know him about his clinical finishing. We know how he's a bit of a fox in the box and makes the most of not a lot. He's going to have to be at that very best in this game here. Because you've got Kerman Kelleher in fantastic form and goal. You've got the best centre-back in the league right now in Virgil van Dijk. Trent Alexander-Arnold returns. Andy Robertson. This great Arne Slot system. Newcastle have to be clinical when they get their chances. And I feel like in this game here, if Newcastle want any sort of control, any sort of avenue towards winning this game of football, you need to lift in midfield. Tonali, but in particular, Bruno Guimaraes, who for me has been slightly off all season. Not at his combative best, not at his sort of pest best, where he just gets in there and just makes it a scrap in midfield. I think for me, make it as ugly as possible for Bruno Guimaraes. Be physical into challenges, pick up a yellow early, make a stamp early. You're the captain of the side. Throw your body about and make it uncomfortable for this Liverpool midfield that just bossed the game versus Manchester City. Because if you allow them time to settle, they'll get in control of the game. They'll own their possession and they'll probably win the game of football quite comfortably. Looking at Liverpool, 16 games now unbeaten in all competitions. 2-0 win versus Man City last time out. They extend their gap to 9 points on top of the Premier League table. And simply put, they have just been the best team in English football by a long way so far this season. It was dominance against Man City. It was work rate. It was intensity. It was great possessional play. And it was dominating from minute 1 to minute 90. And that just gives the side some confidence. And I think in this game here, that pressing was led by Alexis McAllister, and I feel like him and alongside Ryan Gravenberch again will be the keys in this game here. Away from home, hostile environment, Newcastle up for the game. You're going to need that midfield control and that identity of pressing football, winning the ball back and then keeping it when you get it. And that's going to be driven by those two midfielders there with Dominic Szoboszlai and number 10 as well, leading that press, making it uncomfortable for Newcastle like they made it uncomfortable for Man City last time out as well. So look to those three to be the key figures. And then also up top, your clinical finishers, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Mohamed Salah. Like you have against Man City, take your chances when you get them. When you're on the road, it's important you score first. So it's important these guys are clinical, run a goal. And then also Virgil van Dijk defensively, the captain, the leader, the best centre-back in the league right now, making sure he's at his best, shutting down any of those half chances that Newcastle create because they feast these half chances against these big teams at home. That's how they've gotten the better of Arsenal. That's how they were competitive versus Man City, was sitting in deep and then breaking and utilising the pace and clinical edge they've got up top. The last 15 meetings all favour Liverpool, 11 wins and 4 draws. As such, I see them getting the result yet again. It's not going to be easy, but I see Liverpool getting over the line 2-0 in this game here and continuing their great run of form and extending that lead atop on the Premier League table. We move to St Mary's for our next game as Southampton host Chelsea. This one's going to be a goal fest, I think. Southampton come off the back of that 1-1 draw versus Brighton, one of their best, most consistent performances of the season in terms of their attacking play. And the limited mistakes. They still made 2 or 3 in that game there. And I think for me, that's the big highlighting factor in this one here. Can you limit your mistakes against a Chelsea side that will feast on any half error or half mistake you'll make? They'll go and pounce it and they'll probably find the back of the net. So for Southampton, limit those mistakes there. Make Chelsea be the team to beat you rather than you beating yourself in this game here. As it is in most weeks, it feels like for Southampton, it's Tyler Dibling. He is so important to this side here. Set up that goal for Flynn Downs with his individual run from the halfway line. He's going to be important yet again to get at a very vulnerable Chelsea back line that will be out, missing Reece James and Fofana. So a very vulnerable back line that can be got at. And I think Tyler Dibling's dribbling abilities, pace, and his direct running could be a problem. It caused Liverpool a problem just over a week ago. It could cause Chelsea some problems in this game here. So look to him to be the key. And obviously Sugawara and Manning, really, really important roles as fullbacks to shut down the Chelsea wire players that cause so many problems to so many clubs around the Premier League. Looking at Chelsea, a dominant win versus Aston Villa, 3-0 result. Bossed the game for all 90 minutes, and it was led by Enzo Fernandez, the captain, and Cole Palmer at the number 10 in the centre of the park. These guys are at their very, very best in this game here. Chance creation, clinical edge in front of goal, and just look like they're playing with a lot of freedom. And right now, that's the difference this season versus last season for Chelsea. That midfield is looking so much more balanced, so much more controlled, and whoever's put in there is performing at such a higher level. So look to those guys yet again to be very, very pivotal. Enzo Fernandez to continue that great run of form. Lavia or Caicedo, whoever's in that midfield as well, to be important figures in that midfield to make it tick over and just overrun the Southampton side. And again, we know Southampton have troubles playing out of the back with and without the ball. So continue that press up the pitch. Jackson, we know he's an energetic beast. Neto and Madueke keep pressing that Southampton back line, and you might create a chance from a mistake in many regards here. They've got 16 goals in the last 5 games. They're ranked second in the Premier League away from home. It's all pointing to a Chelsea win, and I will back Chelsea in this game here. They've got so much danger in the width with Noni Madueke and Neto, Jackson in form up top, Palmer, Enzo Fernandez in behind that. It's just a very, very attacking side that's in such great form. I think they'll continue in this game here. And what will be a bit of a shootout, I think. Both teams struggling defensively. Both teams have dangerous forwards going the other way. I've got Chelsea winning at 4-2. I said it's going to be a bit of an entertainment fest, but Chelsea's better players will show up, and as such, they get the win here in this game for me. We move to the Emirates for our next game as Arsenal host Manchester United, and boy are Arsenal backfiring. Martin Odegaard returns and his goals are plenty for this Arsenal side, winning 5-2 after a fabulous first half display versus West Ham United. It's now 14 goals in the last 4 games for Arsenal, and that problem of last month where they couldn't find the back of the net is truly in the past now, with Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka just pulling the strings for this Gunners side. Bukayo Saka ranked number 1 for big chance created so far in the Premier League. He'll be another massive performer versus Manchester United. You feel like 16 big chance created so far this season. He is going to be the key figure. Working in the half space with Martin Odegaard, little one-touch football. He loves a great goal versus Manchester United. I think he'll be the sole operator in the final third to make things really, really troubling for this Manchester United back 3, back 5 at times. That you see United starting to learn a new system. Bukayo Saka is someone that can bust that system to pieces just with his individual brilliance. So I feel like he is going to be a massive key in this game here. For Arsenal as well, it's important to keep that high speed of ball movement when they win the ball back off the turnover. That's what Everton did well in the opening phases versus Manchester United last time. That's what Ipswich did well 2 weeks ago as well. This Amorim system can be got up if United is careless with possession, turn the ball over, and then the opposition gets at them quickly, plays direct, plays with speed and intensity and a real drive and want to get the ball forward quickly. And as such, that sort of back 3 can become a back 2 and everyone's sort of caught out of position. And that's when you can get at this United side. So really important that they press up the pitch, Arsenal. They cause United to be uncomfortable in possession. And then once they turn that ball over, get at this United side and get at this sort of back 3 that can look very vulnerable at times. Looking at Manchester United, the problems of Erik ten Hag seem to be in the past. Goals are coming in big clumps at this current point in time. 13 goals in the last 5 games, coming off the back of that really, really solid 4-0 win versus Everton. It's now 7 games unbeaten in all competitions since Erik ten Hag was sacked. So positive signs for Manchester United, but the side is far from being back in many regards there. A key figure in this game will be Amad Diallo, continuing his form over the last few weeks. Obviously got 2 fantastic assists versus Everton, but I think for me it's his work rate with and without the ball that's going to be the big key here. He was leading that press for United versus Everton, winning the ball back on multiple occasions and setting up goals from that press. It'll be important yet again to press this Arsenal side and make them a little bit uncomfortable in possession and not allow them just to boss the ball, boss the possession and boss the momentum of the game. And also his importance to track back defensively. In that right wing back position, not only is he important going forward for chance creation, but also is he important to tuck in defensively and complete that back 5. If he's caught slightly out of position, like we saw versus Ipswich, this Arsenal side, especially with Leandro Trossard down the left-hand side there, could cause all sorts of problems for this United unit. So really important he does both jobs equally good attacking-wise and defensively. And also if United have that back three, they need to be very, very solid if they want to get anything out of this game here. Nusayr Mazraoui, Matthias de Ligt, Harry Maguire likely to come into the side. You have to be compact. You have to limit mistakes with and without the ball. And you've got to be quick to react off the turnover. As I said, United looked very vulnerable when turning the ball over in midfield areas because that back three isn't set up enough to up the pitch and often gets exposed. So that's an avenue for Arsenal to attack and a spot that United need to fix up very, very quickly. There's talent all over the park in this game here. You got Bruno, you got Odegaard, you got Saka and Diallo, Rashford and Trossard. Great players all over the park. But Arsenal's form right now is just blistering. It's on fire. They're too good at this current point in time. So I'm backing them in and back them hard in this game here. They get 1, they get 2, then they get a roll on. And I'm seeing them winning this game 4-1 for me. I think United, with this new system, will get exposed and the pressure and the cracks will show eventually in this new system under Ruben Amorim. Our next game is Aston Villa taking on Brentford. 2 teams that really will fancy a big win in this game here. Obviously, Aston Villa off the back of an awful 3-0 performance versus Chelsea where they were just never really in that game. And they're just desperate for goals at this current point in time. Only 2 goals scored in their last 5 games. The delivery to Watkins needs to be improved. Their clinical edge in the final third needs to be improved. And simply put, that is the one and only problem right now for Aston Villa. They're an attacking team that's lost their attacking identity. So looking at this game here, looking at Jadon Philogene be that difference maker. I wouldn't mind seeing Ross Barkley implemented from the start at the number 10 spot just to give this side a little fresh look. And maybe even it is Leon Bailey returning to the starting lineup and just go a bit of all-out attack here because Brentford, as we'll get onto, are just a historically bad team on the road this season. So it could be an avenue to find a result in this game here by just going all-out attack and trying to find your mojo in the final third. I think Yuri Tielemans will have a massive role to play as well in that double pivot alongside Boubacar Kamara, not only winning the ball back, but driving the ball forward and being that late runner into the box to potentially open the scoring by overloading the box in the final third as well. So he'll have a massive role to play. Looking at Brentford, they got a fantastic win versus Leicester 4-1 last time out. We know how good they are at home. They're the best team at home. The most goals are scored this season at the G-Tech. But on the road, it's been a different story. They are the worst team in the Premier League on the road. Only 1 point this season. But but the side averages 2 goals per game. So you know they've got goals in their locker. It's about if they can show it in this game here on the road. I expect them to be a bit more pragmatic and defensive on the road. So look to like a Mikkel Damsgaard in the number 10 there, who was fantastic in the last few weeks, to try and create something on the break for this Brentford side, whether it be for Johan Vissel or Brian Mbermo. Damsgaard's passing array is simply phenomenal at this current point in time. So look to him to set up the counter-attack for this Brentford side and trying to catch this Aston Villa side committing too many numbers forward. And equally important jobs for Collins and Pinnock at the heart of the fence to try and keep Ollie Watkins quiet and keep Aston Villa quiet, because the longer you keep the game at 0-0, the more pressure builds in this Villa side and the cracks might start to open as they try and commit too many numbers forward for the Brentford side to counter-attack and potentially nick a goal on the break. With that being said, I've got it back in Villa. I'm going to trust my gut here, and I think the turnaround will come soon. I think it's going to come this game here. A 2-0 hard-fought win for me over a Brentford side which struggles on the road. We move to London for our next game as Fulham takes on Brighton. Obviously, Fulham off the back of a very good performance versus Tottenham Hotspur, that 1-1 draw, but they'd be disappointed not to get all 3 points from one of the better complete performances from the season. Obviously, going back home, that'll give the side a bit of confidence. And I think what will give the side a lot of confidence as well is the performance of some of those attacking players yet again. Alex Iwobi, Emil Smith-Rowe, and Reece Nelson put together a fabulous performance in terms of chance creation, and smarts and intelligence on the ball versus Tottenham. They really exposed a vulnerable back line through some of their ball movement and some of the pace and speed of movement in the final third. Obviously led by Emil Smith-Rowe's smarts and vision on the ball. He makes all these things happen. But Alex Iwobi and Reece Nelson did a fantastic job keeping the width and getting at a vulnerable Spurs back line. In this game here, I think it's going to be important for the fullbacks for Fulham to be at their best. Obviously, we know how good Robinson is, we know how good Tete can be, but they're going to have to be at their best defensively to shut down Brighton's wide players, especially Matoma, and how Jorginho Rutter keeps his width as well. Brighton look at their best when they play with width, so it's really important that the Fulham fullbacks keep it nice and tight in there and limit the chances created from those wide areas in many regards there. Looking at Brighton, obviously they come off the back of a disappointing, underwhelming 1-1 draw at home versus Southampton. A little bit back to reality for them in this game here. A key stat for them is they haven't kept their clean sheet in the last 6 games. So you know they're a little bit vulnerable defensively despite all the great work they've done in the final third. And I think, once again, you look to those attackers to try and be the difference maker in this game here. Karim Matoma alongside Jorginho Rutter and João Pedro. They're dangerous front three, they're dynamic front three at this current point in time. They're looking super productive in the final third. It's if the other players around them can support them. But for them in this game here, look to them, try and be clinical in the final third. We know how Fulham can limit chances and make a game a little bit of a stalemate. So when you do get those chances, whether it be early or late in the game, those three need to be clinical for a goal to maximise Brighton's chances of getting all 3 points in this game here. And then a massive role also in the midfield. Ayari with Baliba to return in this game here. Massive job for them just to prevent Fulham getting in control of the game, allowing those attacking midfielders like Emil Smith-Rowe, Andreas Pereira, maybe Alex Iwobi tucking in narrow to get on the ball and have space and time on the ball. It's really important that Ayari and Baliba make that midfield battle a bit of a scrap, make it combative in there and not allow Fulham to get settled in this game here, because that will go a long way for Brighton getting a positive result in this game here. With it being said, though, I think both sides are very dangerous on the day. Both sides can leak goals at key moments in time, and as such, I see it being an entertaining score draw. Gone with a 2-2 draw in this game here. Both sides attacking talent doing the damage, but both sides unable to keep each side out defensively. Final game is at the Vitality Stadium. It's Bournemouth hosting Spurs. It's going to be a very intriguing game, this one here. Bournemouth off the back of that 4-2 fantastic win on the road versus Wolves. A much-needed bounce-back performance. But we know at home they are the giant slayers, beating Arsenal and also beating Manchester City this season. They might try and add Spurs to that tally as well. And I think they're in good place to do that. That front three in behind the striker, Evan Nilsson, is looking back to their best form. Kluivert, Semenyo returning in this game here, and also Tavernier. They're going to be very important, keeping the width and stretching a very vulnerable makeshift Tottenham back line here. And I think the attacking football we've seen in recent weeks, 10 goals in the last 5 games, shows that these frontline players are finding something to click, and Evan Nilsson leading the line is doing a fantastic job. He, alongside those midfielders in the last game, were pivotal. Their counter-pressing, the high pressing up the pitch, caused all sorts of problems for Wolves, and I feel like if they implement the same sort of system in this game here, it could cause a lot of problems for a Spurs side that's very undermanned and a very makeshift at this current point in time. A lot of rotational plays in the side. So look to Christie and Adams, or Christie and Cook in that midfield alongside Evan Nilsson to bring the energy, bring the intensity, and implement that proper Iriola pressing football, which you saw a lot this time last season in Bournemouth. Fantastic turnaround from relegation zone to mid-table. So look to them again to implement that style to try and offset Spurs and the style of football they like to play. Looking at Spurs, they come to the 1-1 draw versus Fulham. Really, really average performance by them on the back of that 4-0 City win in the week prior. The side obviously averages the 2.2 goals per game, so you know they're going to be on the front foot. You know they're going to throw caution to the wind here and try and get on the front foot early. And I think for me, it's pretty simple. The key players are going to be Dejan Kulusevski, because whenever he's heavily involved in a game, great things happen for Tottenham Hotspur, and he is purely their barometer this season. When he's at his best, Spurs are at their best. When he's slightly off or not starting like he was last time out, Spurs look poor, they look slow, and the chance creation, which Ange's system is built on, is just not quite there for this Spurs side. So he's going to be very, very important yet again, and also another important role for Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, the two established players in this back four, and two players are going to have their work cut out for them with how Bournemouth play. Once they win the ball back, they look to play quickly. They use the width with Semenyo and Tavernier. So these two are going to be really, really switched on to that counter-attack and that transitional play, which Bournemouth love to implement. With that being said, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game, but I can't see too many goals in this game here. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I think both teams cancel each other out, and Bournemouth go close yet again to get another big scalp at home. With that being said, ladies and gents, that brings this prediction video to an end. Match week 14 predictions, midweek Premier League action. Absolutely cannot wait for it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of my predictions? What's your big game to come from the midweek action? And who's some players you think will be important for these games to come on the weekend? Let me know that in the comment section down below. I love the interaction we get going on down there. If you enjoyed the video, guys, please sort of smash a like on it. Subscribe to the Players Zone channel if you're new around here, and press that post notification bell so you know we're uploading on this channel here. As you may or may not know, it is Player Zone Footmas. So we're doing a video podcast or prediction video every single day in December till Christmas. So there'll be a lot of uploads here on the channel. So definitely jump on board if you're new. That'd be very much appreciated. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the midweek football action. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the video very, very soon. Next time, guys. See you later.